choo! Hey ghouls and ghastlies, it's me, Charity Kase, back again with another disgusting Dragula Season 6 review! This is episode 4, and let me tell you, the drama this week was hotter than a Halloween bonfire. We had narcissism callouts, mediocre looks, and a lip sync that was more meh than boo! So, buckle up, darlings, because it's gonna be a bumpy ride. So let's kick it off with Chicken Gate. Yes, last week Desiree threw a chicken at Yuri, and it was as dramatic as it sounds. Everyone is still cackling about it, and honestly, me too. That bird had more screen time than poor Severity. Now let's talk about Majesty. You know how some people do that whole like soft-spoken, but you know there's more going on behind the scenes? That's kind of what I'm getting. It's like he's channeling Princess Diana, but darling, we all know you're a bitch. Like, that's what we liked about you last time. So I want him to stop playing this soft-spoken game and give us the real unfiltered drama, rather than this lukewarm tea. And speaking of shade, Auntie was not here for James's nonsense. She straight up called him a narcissist. I gagged. Auntie's definitely becoming my favourite. She's serving wisdom, leadership, and reads faster than I can glue down a lace front. This week's challenge was a lip sync to the Boule Brothers' new song, Ghost Train. Woo! So they asked all the contestants to bring Ghost Train inspired looks. Don't be fooled by my gorgeous attire. I was not super inspired by this theme. Looks can be deceiving. I mean, a train? To me, it felt a bit like this concept never really left the station. Get it? The train station? But hey, at least they gave the queen some jewels. Even if those earrings wouldn't last 5 minutes in my wardrobe. The team groupings were wild. It seemed like nobody really wanted to go with James, which I felt a little bit bad for him. But he ended up with Yuri and Gray, which I thought was such an odd grouping. Like, it's the only time that it's appropriate for all the tops to be together. And I am never, ever gonna suggest that again. Auntie originally didn't want to be with Pie because she said they were two camp queens together and that was gonna be a bad thing, but I don't see how that's possibly bad. I'm like, the camper the better, especially for a lip sync, and I think it definitely worked in their favor. I didn't really like the choice to not light the looks when they were being presented with like a white light. I felt like it was really hard to see what was going on. I also wasn't a huge fan of the Boulet Brothers looks this week. I think they looked a bit like costumey. I didn't like the material. It was a bit plasticky. And they were kind of just small. Like, I wanted like grandiose looks. Those like red wormy dresses that they did was so good. And it feels like I'm like expecting that level every time. We had fabulous guest judges again, as always, with Landon Sider, Dragula icon, and Justin Simeon. First up, we had Auntie. At first, I kind of felt underwhelmed with Auntie's look. It felt a little bit human to me. I loved her campy detective concept and all the props that she pulled out, but the material was giving me my nan's curtains. Seeing Auntie's look on the stage later on next to everybody else's in the white light, it definitely stood out as it looked really polished, and it was one of the better looks of the night. She had a big silhouette, and that's always a good thing. I just didn't really like her hair. I don't like those like top knots of hair on top of nothing else. Like, it just doesn't do anything for me aesthetically. It gives me troll doll. And I don't think troll doll's what she was going for. Moving on to Pie. Now, Pie's look had potential. From the sketch, I thought it was going to be my favourite look of the night. But again, it felt underwhelming to me. And I'm expecting high level of drag from Pie and big looks that are finished with heavy detailing. This look didn't feel very detailed. I really like the colour scheme. It gave me Corpse Bride, which was really interesting. And I like the grandiosity of having the tracks on her back. That was really cool. But it looked to me like a costume, like a cool Halloween costume with a really, really cool prop. Where I think she could have done like prosthetics on her chest and on her waist, where the train track had already been across her and it was like blood. She could have even had the guts spilling out. I just think there was so much potential here to do something really, really cool, and it kind of fell flat. She was trying to give damsel in distress, and I got damsel in that dress. That's not funny. Oh God. Ugh. I'm not a comedian, okay? I don't have to be funny, do I? On to Majesty. I liked Majesty's idea of doing like a explorer type look, but I think the colour palette was totally wrong. I think Majesty looked alive. I don't think she looked dead. I don't think she looked like a ghost. I did enjoy the stabbed detailing on the back. That was really cool and it was drama. But the rest of it felt underwhelming to me. It was giving Indiana Jones and the Temple of Beige. In my eyes, it wasn't like Dragula floor show level. It was more like working on the ride in Disneyland. I'm sorry, I don't know what has come over me this week. I'm being extremely harsh, but it's all true. The first couple of episodes have been really nice and like super lovely, and I think I'm getting comfortable now, so get prepared for chaos. Woo, hello. Moving on to Vivi, Hot Mess Express. Choo choo. This was a wild ride. I don't know what her concept here was, but I couldn't make it out. I thought the wig was a poor choice, and I liked the ropes. I didn't understand the veil. Like, I just didn't get her concept. Was she a bride? Was she working in a mine? Was she burnt? Was the red thing fire? Was it good? Or had she just eaten a spaghetti bolognese really messily before the show? Either way, I had no idea what it was. They complained about her back not being painted, but my complaint was more about her front being painted. I didn't understand why, or I couldn't get it. So yeah, it was a bit of a miss to me this week because I just didn't understand it. Especially when I've seen such high-level drag from Vivi the last few weeks. She's brought really refined and polished looks, so yeah, this felt off par for her. Aurora. Now, Aurora was stunning this week. I thought she looked really gorgeous and she brought hyper glam. I wanted to see more blood on her outfit. I wanted to see how she had died. I really liked the split that was on her suitcase with all the pearls and the blood dripping out. I kind of wish there had been a smaller version of that on her head or on her neck or on her stomach, just so that there was a death to her. I think she could have added lots more dripping, dangly red jewels. It would have added lots of detail to the chest and just made it more spooky and ghostly and dead in my eyes. I would have loved to have even seen like a dripping crystal like up her nose that was like hanging out, so it was like she was having a nosebleed. I think that could have been a really nice feature. But overall, she looked really good. It was cool to see her do what she does best. I just think a little more blood spatter would have been the cherry on top of this spooky Sunday. Moving on to Asia. Asia's look had the same punk, raw, monstrous energy that she always brings, but this felt like a miss to me as well. I didn't like that her midriff was unpainted. Again, I think it looks unfinished and it takes me out of the look or the character when I can see your human skin. I think it should have matched her face and been painted white or been painted blue or just something. It should have been tied in. And all the materials all together, it was giving me Raver, but it was also giving me like rolled around in a packaging bin, which is never really a good look. She said she was a coal shoveler, but honestly, this look just didn't light me on fire. Moving on to Yuri, who I think was my favourite look of the night. She looked spooky, she looked gorgeous, and I really loved that colour palette, that muted, drawn back, greyish, brownish colour palette that she had. I think she definitely nailed that ghostly vibe. Her makeup was stunning, as always. I loved the shape of her eyes. I liked the green teeth. I liked her long yellow nails and the distressing on the dress. It all just worked really harmoniously together. And it was almost giving me like dead Glinda the Good in like the best way possible. And she made the dress herself. Moving on to Jaria. Jaria came as a church lady and it was very pedestrian in my eyes. I think the silhouette should have been bigger. There should have been more. If you're gonna do a pedestrian, normal character, like everyday person walking down the street, you have to amplify it. You have to make it big. It was kind of giving me someone clocking in for their shift in a haunted house rather than Dragula main stage. I just wanted something more extreme, more over the top, more big, more drama, more camp, and this didn't feel like that for me. So sadly, this was a miss. Her characterization was really good. As always, she moves really, really well, but I wanted her to give herself more to work with. It felt like she was trying to give a show wearing a really normal, everyday outfit. I definitely would have changed the shape up a little bit more and just made it more extreme. Lastly, we had Grey Matter. Now, Grey's look was cool. I think the makeup was really interesting and I loved his facial hair. I think the teeth detail was really cool and his makeup always looks super realistic and film ready, which is super impressive. I liked his creepy aesthetic and the snakes on the boots. All the details like that are really cool. But this look was a little pedestrian. It felt a little drawn back. It felt a little small and it didn't feel very drag to me. I think Gray needs to be careful with his tendency to do something so accurate and film ready and realistic, or to lean too far away from the side of flamboyant and entertaining, because that's what drag is all about. And I really like the Boulet's critiques here, how they specified that they weren't telling Gray to be more gendered, they were just telling Gray to have more of a flounce, which is, I think, a perfect way of putting it. And then we had them all lip sync the Boulet Brothers' new song. This was odd. I found this whole segment very weird and kind of difficult to watch. There was 3 people in each group and they were all doing their own thing, lip syncing the same words at the same time. I think if I'd been involved in this, I probably would have pulled my group together and said, let's come up with a concept, let's tie one of us to a chair and let's be torturing them. Just a random idea off the top of my head, you know? I don't understand why they didn't do that, or even have all 3 of them sat staring at the camera, being really still, doing super weird movements, creep it up. Gray was the only person here who used his creepy vibe. I think everyone else was kind of traditional drag, doing the same movements at the same time. So I don't think anybody really stood out to me. I wanted them to give us tension, to give us build, to give us drama, to give us Dragula. They could have at least separated it up so they were all taking roles and parts in the song, because the song had 1 voice in it at any one time and all 3 of them are lip syncing, doing their own thing. It was just distracting and hard to watch, honestly. The Boulets get their critiques and Aurora is the winner. So the bottom 2 were Vivi and Gray, and honestly, Gray was my standout here. His attitude and persona that he put on through the lip sync creeped me out and it made me pay attention to him, so I was gagged that he was in the bottom. Sadly, I think Vivi probably deserves it. This look is really random and she did pin herself under the train, which is maybe not the best idea. The extermination this week was electrifying. Literally. They were doing this whole electric shock thing, holding onto cages, and honestly, I thought it looked kind of fun. I don't mind a little shock here or there. And it looked like they both did pretty well, holding on for dear life. But can we talk about that cliffhanger? What the hell? No elimination reveal. Now I'm really on the edge of my seat until next week. But honestly, I'm kind of sad to see either of them go. I think Vivi's shown some really strong looks and some really polished drag, and Gray has a really cool aesthetic in general, so either of them are fabulous competitors. Boo-hoo, someone has to die. All right, weirdos. That's it for this week's review. If you liked it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe! Who was your favourite this week? And who do you think got the chop? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching and for your support. Until next time, stay freaky, stay fabulous, and keep it fucked up. Ugh.